Welcome once again to Ham and Egg News. First, I want to thank Morgan for filling in last week. Too bad you couldn't join us again, because in today's episode, Ken talks about atheists eating babies. The joke stereotype of baby eaters? It's alive, my friends. Morgan would have loved this.
Alright, so gotta do today's Answers News.
Morgan. I thought that was just a one-time thing. I was going to cover Answers News for today and, well, forever, actually.
So it's a little awkward, but I'm gonna get into this news. I'm gonna hopefully not talk for fucking ever this time.
You've had literally no prep time. Are you really up for this?
Let's see. I'm running out of, or I'm actually not running out of caffeine. I have a little more than half of a Monster left, so that's pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, let's get into the news and figure this shit out for today.
Here we go.
Here we are, Answers News, on Monday, March 13, 2017. Have with me Dr. Georgia Purdom.
So is Genesis History, which is the movie that came out a couple of weeks ago, big success in the theaters. They had 2 encore presentations. That is going to be available. It's available for pre-order right now.
If you're anxiously awaiting more sciencey videos on this channel, this is Genesis History series is the bottleneck right now. You may know I'm working with Buster the Atheist Pug on a series addressing the scientific claims of this film. Stay tuned.
We'd love to see all the emoji things, yeah. And some of them said angry faces.
I've seen that before, yeah.
A lot of thumbs up, and some of them are hearts, and then some of them are. I guess they don't like us and what we're saying.
It's not us. We shield our contempt with these smiling faces.
So what exciting news do we have today?
We're going to talk about teeth.
Teeth.
So apparently they found these teeth from a Neanderthal that had they can tell it had a bad dental abscess, and so he ate basically an antibiotic fungus called penicillium, which everyone should be familiar with because we get our antibiotic.
How do they know they ate penicillin?
We can't know actually because no one was there, but I don't. That's just my opinion.
They can tell from what's in the teeth.
What's in the teeth?
They chewed on bits of poplar tree, which has salicylic acid. So I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but anyways, close enough.
It doesn't matter, Georgia. You're not a real scientist, so you don't need to know how to pronounce things correctly.
You know, what we've noticed with these people, they actually had a good knowledge of medicinal plants, and wow, this contrasts with the simplistic view of ancient relatives. Well, let's go have this evolutionary view.
The evolutionary view is really just the scientific view, which is science changes based on information that is available to us. This is something that I tried to drive home in the last video that we did. It's really disappointing to see that refrain be repeated over and over and over and over and over again by creationists. They say the same thing, like, how can you trust science when science does nothing but change? And I try and tell them that's the exact reason why you should trust science.
First picture I ever saw of a Neanderthal was looking like some, half man, half ape, brute type, cave being of some sort. Now they're realizing, hey, they were very sophisticated.
Yeah, they were.
And
again, this has to do with science changing over the years. I can say the same thing that Ken Ham can say, even when I was in school. I was in third grade, probably when I saw my first Neanderthal image. You know, the club holding meat on the bone kind of individual. But we know that that's not necessarily the case now. We're just learning new things about a particular subject. I'm never sure why that's a bad thing, but apparently it is to Dr. Ken Ham and PhD giggles.
Of course, they're 100% human, and that's what we'd expect, right?
And we can study their DNA and see that.
I'm sorry, but it's through DNA that we can confirm that Neanderthals are not 100% human. The question of exactly how similar remains up for honest debate, with the semantics being different species or different subspecies. These waters are a little muddy because geneticists have identified that 3% of the DNA of humans of European descent is actually Neanderthal DNA, a portion not contained in those of African descent, suggesting that Neanderthals and the humans that migrated out of Africa did some interbreeding. However, the mitochondrial DNA, see my recent video on mitochondrial Eve, of Neanderthals and humans are so different that a 100% human claim is scientifically untenable. Georgia, the geneticist, should know better.
And we have a really good DVD by Dr. David DeWitt on that.
Well, there's a big surprise. They found a story that's connected to something they sell. I subjected myself to Dr. DeWitt's lecture for you. Here's a taste of what you'll get.
It's an absolute delight to be here with you at this wonderful conference. You might be asking yourself, well, how does an Alzheimer's researcher get involved in Neanderthal? I don't believe that. And I'm going to do some research in that area.
Compelling stuff, right?
Initially, they didn't think Neanderthals and humans were related based on genetics, but Dr. DeWitt was like, no, there's enough archaeological evidence and things to indicate they are fully human.
All right, so inside a minute, she's dropped her claim that genetics show that humans and Neanderthals are the same. Now the claim is based on archaeology? The two groups left similar garbage behind, so that overrides DNA evidence?
There's people from Texas watching. That's almost Australia.
It's another country. Okay.
That was fucking hilarious. That shit, this is the shit. But I'm waiting for the baby eating. I want the baby eating to be right now. We're 9 minutes in.
It's coming.
Where's the baby eating? Like, I need it.
Calm down.
I need it.
Denisovans are another group of individuals. They're fully human. We only really have a few finger bones from them, but they were able to extract DNA and find out that they are indeed very similar to humans. So we believe they are fully human, just like Neanderthals.
So wait a minute. 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 There are some similarities, so we know they're fully human. Seems to be the argument the creationists make for a lot of hominid fossils, which is always awkward. They can never be partial, because partial denotes recognition of transitional species or kinds, if you want, if you'd like, maybe. That's something that they really pushed with, like, Lucy and stuff.
Exactly. They say Lucy is just an ape. Like, we're not also still apes. Their version of phylogeny is kind of like integer mathematics. They have to round up or round down depending on which current species something's closest to. As you mentioned, that helps them completely avoid any transitional fossils. Nothing's transitional if you round up or round down.
Science Daily, evolution of bipedalism in ancient dinosaur ancestors. In other words, how these animals supposedly evolved.
How they walked upright.
So they could walk on two legs.
Yeah.
Okay, can you explain this one to me?
It's a lot of what we call just so stories, right? So before the dinosaurs, the ancestors, their tails had really big muscles in them, and that provided them with the mass they needed to sort of be able to, the tail to be heavier, and so they could stand upright. That allowed them to get balance, and then they found they could run faster on 2 feet. They had more adaptations, and so they continued to improve. And eventually, right, they were going to improve so much that they could then fly.
Well, that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. So I did what I always do in these cases. I look up the article. Hey, look, it's the University of Alberta, just down the road from me, so that I can find the actual scientific paper. And here it is. The paper is actually a refutation of some previous claims that bipedalism arose as a predatorial advantage in capturing prey, now noting that the ability and inclination could be found in all branches of the dinosaur tree, including both carnivores and herbivores. A hypothesis of the paper is that the ability began in a distant common ancestor, and a more consistent common usage would have been for cursoriality. Running speed, that is.
I mean, it sounds like a fanciful story. That's what evolutionists believe.
Right. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And they go on to talk about the mammals and how the mammal lineage, that they dug burrows, and because of that, and they didn't have these tails, and they survived the Permian mass extinction, and so they didn't walk on 2 legs. So,
Right.
So if they hadn't have burrowed and had tails, cows today would have had 2
I guess
legs.
they walk on 2 legs instead of 4.
Hey, they call it Science Daily. I'd call it Fairy Tale Daily.
Yeah.
Because really, it's just a story.
It was a lot of stories.
They just make all this stuff up.
I mean, I've read the Bible before. There are a lot of stories in the Bible. You could call it the 66 books of fairy tales. But that's okay.
The paper itself is very evidence-based and cites a litany of peer-reviewed sources, but suffice it to say that even I wince a little when reading the hypotheses that go beyond what happened during the evolutionary process and posit conjecture about why they happened, no matter how empirically based that speculation may be. Maybe that's a vestigial discomfort from my theist days.
I can understand it as a dirty anti-theist.
And you know what? They present that in a public school as science. And
It's intriguing to me when they say that it's a fanciful story, yet there's a fucking talking snake or some shit, and you essentially just have to believe that, right? Because there's no observational evidence that says snakes can talk. So if you want to be talking about fanciful stories, you can go back and forth about it all day. The fact of the matter is, one of them is a lot more regimented, a lot more grounded in reality, a lot more grounded in the science of actual evolution than it is just read this and assume that it happened, presume that it happened, presuppose that it happened, because it happened. And that is creationist logic in a nutshell. I'm lapsing in and out of attention at this point because I'm waiting for the baby eating part. I really am.
somebody at the Creation Museum is watching us live. We're inside here
Oh,
in the
that's
offices,
funny.
and they're at the Creation Museum watching us live.
Leave me alone! Jill, this is Sergeant Sacker. Listen to me. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Got a squad car's on the way over there right now. Just get out of that house. Jill?
Somebody asked, how long did it take for Adam to fall?
You want to hear my reply to that?
What's your reply?
Knowing mankind, not long.
Oh, okay. That's good answer.
I can't. Stand up Georgia Purdom. She could do stand up, and it would be amazing.
But that's observational science. It has nothing to do. Again, in the article, they talk about evolution, but it's not. They're not evolving when they're developing resistance. It's just variation within that.
Variations within kinds are an exceptionally efficient form of evolutionary thought. I was watching Ray Comfort, his Evolution versus God video, again. And he goes to some college and he talks to secular scientists about what evolution is. And he goes and talks to this one professor, and they do talk about antibiotic-resistant bacteria. And Ray Comfort says the whole spiel of, but they're still bacteria. And the professor goes, yes, they're different species of bacteria. And Ray Comfort, but they're still bacteria. The professor, yes, they're different species of bacteria. And you have this back and forth, different species, but they're still bacteria. Different species, but they're still bacteria. And that, to me, is an incredibly telling piece of information from creationist himself, right? Mr. Crocoduck himself, Ray Comfort.
That's actually Kirk Cameron.
We don't find one of these. A crocoduck.
You don't even need to know any of the crazy specific big scientific words. You just need to read a little bit about morphological, anthropological taxonomy.
Which would obviously help people avoid big scientific words.
So I'm pleased when AiG and Ray Comfort actually extrapolate on that in their films and in their media, because they're giving a lot of credence to people who actually understand how evolution works as a scientific process over a period of time.
Actually, I have to disagree. I don't think the fake biology lessons are causing anyone to learn real biology through osmosis. What this kind of half-truth, sciencey sounding propaganda does is allow the sheep-like flock who listen to this nonsense an out when they see irrefutable evidence for evolution. They're given the notion that they can shove such facts into a microevolution category, and now they have a safe space to put paradigm-changing facts without having to take the time to consider them. I actually hate it when they do this.
Okay.
All right.
Guardian newspaper. Is your 3-year-old fair? How morality develops through childhood. Interesting, when I read this article, I thought, wow, they must have read the Bible, because we have a sin nature and we have the law written on our hearts.
Yeah.
So, Georgia, explain just give a summary of this. From the
Okay, so they were basically doing a study to try to determine how children, at what ages they kind of develop the idea of fairness and justice. And so what they found was that even young infants kind of have this foundation of morality. Well, again, like you said, the law is...
Romans 2:15.
Right.
Romans 2:15 tells us the law is written upon our hearts.
Yeah.
So we have a conscience. We know.
Right, we know.
We know right and wrong.
Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. If we know it already, isn't that something that's more secular than it is theistic? If we're born knowing it?
Well, this is unfortunately one of those worldview issues. We understand that evolution applies to populations and not individuals, and that social species gain survival advantage by being social. A few weeks ago, we went over the chimps who ostracize those who don't act altruistically. So the genes of those without empathy and socialization tend to not carry forward. As such, this research makes perfect sense. But Romans 2:15 says that God wrote a moral code on our hearts, and any examples of sociopaths are merely suppressing it. It's the kind of unfalsifiable circular logic that theists love.
That seems like an incredibly dire cop-out.
Yeah, well, Psalm 51 says you're a fool, so checkmate.
But kids, and anybody that has kids out there know, they're not perfect and they do wrong things.
Yep.
And so that reminds us of, I thought of the verse, our heart is desperately wicked and deceitful above all things,
I don't know where I saw it. I don't think it was one of your videos, but it was on YouTube, but somebody had taped a conversation with Georgia Purdom saying how her 3-year-old was sinful just by the second she came out of the womb or something. It was the strangest conversation. I'll have to see if I can try and find it, because I was bewildered.
Research with young infants suggests the foundations of this morality are present at birth. Mm-hmm. Well, we'd say present basically at fertilization. Yeah.
Fertilization.
A few cells know right from wrong. Because I remember back when I was a zygote that killing people was wrong and that stealing shit was wrong. You weren't there. I was.
The Bible tells us we have a sin nature, but the law of God is written in our hearts.
Right. We were conceived in sin.
Something I don't really understand. I don't want to try to understand either, which sounds awful. But if we're conceived in sin, right, because we have to reproduce sexually, so we gotta do the horizontal hula in order to make other people, But God says that marriage between a man or a woman, yada, yada, yada.
A man or a woman?
A man and a woman, rather. That sex is reserved for married couples. Sex is like a gift from God to married couples. Because that shit's fucking awesome. So, if you're a man and a woman who are married, why are you conceived in sin? I mean, there's probably a really easy answer to this that I'm just not thinking about because I don't care half the time.
Well, when they say conceived in sin, they don't necessarily mean that the sex act that brought the sperm together with the egg is the sin part, though it may well be, depending on the circumstance. Christians usually believe that the entire world is under a curse since Eve took the bite of the apple, that the universe now has a sin nature that human can never be innocent of, even seconds after conception. Conceived in sin just means that even the first cell carries the strain of sin. It's not a commentary on whatever fun the parents may or may not be having.
I guess. It's bewildering and disturbing and awkward, to say the least.
A few years ago, I did an interview with Michael Shermer, who's a well-known atheist here at the Creation Museum. At the time, my daughter was 5, so it's been 8 years ago, I guess.
Is she actually going to talk about this fucking video that I was just talking about? Oh my god. Just lay it on me, Georgia.
And I remember saying to him something about, well, my daughter is a sinner.
Oh my fucking god. She fucking said it. I don't need to look up anything. They did all the work for me.
I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's a guilty sinner, just like I am.
Her daughter is a sinner. What? So, what did she say? Her daughter was 5 years old or 8 years old? I'm sorry. I'm almost in tears by how fucking amazing that was. So, I can't stop giggling around PhD giggles. Like she just goes ham on that shit. That's ridiculous. Oh, man. Wow. I'm sorry. That had to take up like an extra minute that I didn't want it to. I'm very pleased. You're right. This is a good one. Still no baby eating yet. So I am very pleased. Very happy Monday today. This changes my entire outlook on life.
I mean, she is a 5-year-old sinner, and I got the most flack for that.
She's a 5-year-old sinner. Oh my god. And then Ken is laughing too, and I can't fucking do it. I can't do it. I have to get up. I have to go take a walk. She got so much flack for calling her 5-year-old daughter a sinner. Yeah, I don't know. Isn't that what you're calling her? Isn't you're calling her a sinner? So what the fuck? She was born a sinner because she was conceived out of sin. Fucking thanks, mother. What the fuck is going on with these people? I apologize for the outburst, but again, I'm kind of losing my mind over here because I don't know if I could carry on a cordial conversation with someone who tells me her fucking 5-year-old is a sinner. It's Georgia Purdom, so she's not trying to be facetious, I don't think, regarding this. She's not trying to be sardonic. She believes it. She actually thinks her 5-year-old is a sinner. Maybe not all of those things that I said specifically, but all-encompassingly so, pretty close to it.
When that YouTube video came out, everyone was like, how could you say this about your 5-year-old? That's child abuse. And I'm like, have you not had children? Like, they are sinners.
I mean, I get that, and that was pretty funny, but still. She was surprised, I think. She was surprised that people didn't agree with her. But, I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
My sister had a baby, and we went up to visit her in hospital, and you're looking through the window, and...
Okay, if this has to be the baby eating part, right? Like, are they going to end with it? Because I'm ready. I'm waiting for this.
Patience.
So we have a pocket guide, and these are really nice little booklets, basically. I have different chapters in them.
Oh man, a book with chapters. I gotta get up on that shit. Oh my god. How did we go from children being sinful to this pocket guide, which is a pocket guide on fucking social issues? I'm doing my very best to keep things cohesive. trying to keep it copacetic over here. It's getting difficult. This is a good one. They keep getting better and better. I just there's so much. It's too much at this point. But yeah, man, I'm a pretty big fan of booklets, and especially booklets with chapters on things.
Someone asked if we have Christian anthropologists or paleontologists working in this field. I know there's some paleontologists.
Yes, anthropologists, I would say, are rarer. I don't know of too many of anthropologists.
I mean, I've met some Christians who study anthropology.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know too many anthropologists, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the exact reason why, when we were talking about hominids earlier, that it will be harder and harder to find a young Earth creation anthropologist.
Okay.
So, cannibalism. Did you know that somebody actually wrote a book on this? And they wrote this article. This is from the Washington Post. And it's reporting on this book this person wrote. Here's the title of the article. Could cannibalism be perfectly natural? This scientist thinks so.
Gross.
Cannibalism.
Gross. Oh, man. I've been waiting for this.
We look at animals and we see these animals that, to survive, sometimes stronger young will eat weaker young.
Right.
Or, they talk about spiders, and these little spiders will then eat the
Eat
mother.
I mean, if you were conceived in sin and then you could go and sin and eat your mother, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't that be all a part of the plan? That would be a part of the plan, right? That would be the plan of sinning and winning. You're conceived in sin. Your mother births you. You're a sinner from birth. Just go and eat her. Give her what she deserves.
I've read these articles where they tried to justify homosexual behavior in humans by saying we see it in
all
animals.
the time, yeah.
Well, if you're going to use that as an example, then what about animals that eat their young?
Yeah.
You going to do that too?
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like there's a secret part of both of these individuals, Dr. Ken Ham and PhD Giggles, that wants to do all the bad things that God says they can't do, because they always say, where do you draw the line?
Eric Hovind and Ray Comfort actually come right out and say it. That if they didn't believe in God, that they would spend all day lying and stealing and raping. I kind of think they all do the first two anyhow.
I don't know. I feel like there's an urgency and a sense of wanting in there. I want to believe. I want to believe that that's the case.
If people ask, is there a direct verse in the scripture that says you can't eat human flesh?
No.
What's interesting, there's no explicit directive.
So what you're telling me is there's a chance that God's okay with cannibalism.
But you know what you do notice all through the Old Testament in particular? You see cannibalism associated with spiritual apostasy,
Right.
and when God is sort of turning a culture over to judgment. You do see that.
Damn it.
God said, just as I gave you the plants, now I give you all things to eat.
Right.
See, and that's a trigger for me, because what is all things? Are we a things, or are we people? Like, I want to be able to eat people. I'm grasping at straws here to be able to just go out and eat my mother, just like a spider would. Like any good evolutionist would do.
Right? But then, in the same section, it talks about not killing
Right.
another human being.
Yeah.
Damn it! Damn it! So close. So close.
But the fact that somebody would spend their life researching this and write a book on it,
Learning is stupid, you should never do it, and you're a terrible person for ever wanting to learn.
No, it's a little disturbing, the article. I mean, the guy ate some placenta and had it prepared, and I'm just like, oh my.
yeah, he said they did add some alcohol into it. They said when they prepared the placenta, they did do it with non-organic vegetables.
No, they did it with organic.
Oh,
Which,
sorry,
that's what they
organic
told
vegetables,
him. Yeah, they did it with organic
Okay,
veggies,
okay.
which is, yay! I mean, if you're going to eat placenta, I might as well have some good organic veggies. There's
okay.
a sentence I never thought
Right,
I'd say.
so
Okay, so I picked this next one because to shout out to Cedarville University, where I graduated from. So this is from the Cedarville website. Cedarville University ranked most beautiful Christian college in Ohio.
Most beautiful Christian college in Ohio? That's oddly specific. What potential student needs this guide? I want to go to a Christian college in Ohio. I wonder which is most beautiful. Suck it, Mount Vernon Nazarene University. Pathetic second placers.
Because we bought an ice cream cake for one of our granddaughters. We had a party at our house, birthday party. We have about one every week with a number of
For 16 grand?
All nonsense. I don't want to hear it.
I had a list of the
I don't wanna hear
ingredients.
it.
And I'm no kidding.
I'm over
was
it.
like,
I'm
this
done.
is wrong.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring it in and show you.
All right. That's it.
That's okay, the rest is pretty much conference schedules and DVDs to buy anyhow. Sorry to tease you with that atheist baby eating thing. I mean, it's kind of what he talked about. I was really just trying to make you jealous of not being here. But to make it up to you, here's a montage of Georgia laughing from this episode.
My prayers have been answered with this. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. But he's like, and I think I have a dentist chair that has my name on it at the dentist. I mean, it sounds like a fanciful story, but that's what evolution is.
2 flights instead of 4. Oh,
In the
that's
offices,
funny.
and they're at the creation. That's going to answer. Yeah, basically. Okay, I'll tell you. You ready?
I had a decent amount of fun today, and looking forward to this Thursday's. That will be fun.
Well, if you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment below to let us know what kind of sinning and winning you heathens are looking forward to engaging in. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any new videos, why not click on subscribe? Proper science videos are coming soon, I promise.
Cool. Signing off.